Welcome to Hello. Welcome to episode we're going to be story, but first we're going to be reading the Bible, and then we're going to be reading PP1. I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and the bell on the video. I'm going to quickly go get a glass of water, so here's the Bible guide.
Hi. So, we're back. I've got my baby Yoda too. So, we're back. Hi, two people. Thank you for joining us. Sorry for the short break that we took. Howdy, says Jessica. So, howdy. Thank you for commenting. So, we did take a short break. I am waiting for JJ to get back from his water break. Lots have happened in the last couple of weeks, but we don't need to cover all of that. We are in a new book of the Bible. We are in a new book of the book that we're going to be reading. And we just finished Hittite Warrior, which was great. If you liked Hittite Warrior, raise your hand quietly. All right, thank you. And if you didn't like Hittite Warrior, then don't watch it again. All right, so we have a new book that we're going to read, and we're in a new book of the... I think he just went to the bathroom. So, we are taking a break. This is not turning out very quick for an introduction to reading. So, all right, I'm gonna quit, and we'll start when we're ready to start, because this is too long. Okay.
He's ready.
He's ready.
He's ready. Okay. Here. He has appeared. Probably didn't wash his hands, but oh well. Sit.
All right. So, here we are. I'm going to do the intro now. So, welcome to Heavy D Storytelling, where I get to read a story. But first, I'm going to read the Bible. So, everybody, turn in your Bible to the book of Exodus. That is the second book written by Moses, Exodus chapter 1. I'm going to be reading from the English Standard Version of the Bible. And if you would like to follow along, then feel free to open up your copy of God's Word. Thank you. Let me begin. These are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt with Jacob, each with his household: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. All the descendants of Jacob were 70 persons. Joseph was already in Egypt. Then Joseph died, and all his brothers and all that generation. But the people of Israel were fruitful and increased greatly. They multiplied and grew exceedingly strong, so that the land was filled with them. Now there arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, "Behold, the people of Israel are too many and too mighty for us. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply. And if war breaks out, they join our enemies and fight against us and escape from the land." Therefore they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with heavy burdens. They built for Pharaoh store cities, Pithom and Ramesses. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied, and the more they spread abroad, and the Egyptians were in dread of the people of Israel. So they ruthlessly made the people of Israel work as slaves, and made their lives bitter with hard service in mortar and brick, and in all kinds of work in the field. In all their work they ruthlessly made them work as slaves. Then the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah, and the other Puah, "When you serve as midwife to the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stool, if it is a son you shall kill him, but if it is a daughter she shall live." But the midwives feared God, and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but let the male children live. So the king of Egypt called the midwives and said to them, "Why have you done this, and let the male children live?" The midwives said to Pharaoh, "Because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before the midwife comes to them." So God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very strong. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families. Then Pharaoh commanded all his people, "Every son that is born to the Hebrews you shall cast into the Nile, but you shall let every daughter live." So, lots and lots of material that I could... Lots of material that I could say about this. Mom says that's gender discrimination, but I say that he is just trying to reduce the population by not letting there be males, and then the women, if there's no males if there's no males in that population, then the women would just be integrated into the Egyptian population, and so that's kind of the logic that he has on that. There was another thing that I was thinking of when I was reading that. Okay, so the cities Pithom and Ramesses, of course, in most popular movie adaptations of this story, the Pharaoh that is going up against Moses is usually Ramesses, and it is 100% unlikely that that was the Pharaoh, mostly because Ramesses was known as a great Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh that is mentioned in Moses' story was obviously not a great Pharaoh, and so there's no way that that could have been Ramesses. I can't, I give it less than 0% chance that it could have been Ramesses. It looks like Kimberly has a question.
I think it's just because Ramesses is one of the more well-known pharaohs.
No, I literally think that they are taking it. Yes, Ramesses is a well-known pharaoh, but they're literally taking it off of this right here. That the Pharaoh built store cities, Pithom and Ramesses, and the Pharaoh would have named it after him. But I disagree. I think that these cities that they built were known by different names at the time that they built them, and that when this book was transcribed, Moses probably would have written them and called them by the name. But when it was transcribed, probably in either the time of the kings or in the time of the exile, that those names were well-known cities in Egypt that were known as Pithom and Ramesses. And so instead of using the older version of the name, the transcription used the newer version of the name. And that makes total sense. That's the way that they would have transcribed it.
So that's really cool.
Anyway, I know I ramble a lot, and it's fine. I like to ramble, so get over it. All right. So now we're going to be reading a new book, and it is Pilgrim's Progress. So this version of the book is made for a homeschool curriculum, and I was looking all over it to see if it's abridged, and I really don't know. It's illustrated. It does say that it's edited, but lots of books can be edited without being abridged. It doesn't say abridged. So I really don't know. If I find out later that this is an abridged version, then we might revisit this book with an unabridged version later. But I think this is a good introduction to the story. Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan, one of the great classics of the Christian repertoire. So today we are going to read the author's apology. And by the way, there's 39 chapters, at least in this edition. I don't know if the original was divided by chapters, which is the reason why I'm doing Exodus, because Exodus has 40 chapters. So I figure we can double up one day, and we're going to read one chapter a day, which is going to make the live stream a little shorter than what we're used to. But that's all good. So the first chapter, and I put it in quotation marks, is called The Author's Apology. Now, that doesn't mean that the author is apologizing. That means apologia, which means to explain or to offer a bit of explanation. We're having some trouble. I think maybe they should...
It's okay. I'll split them up. Oh, keep going.
All right, so it doesn't mean that they're sorry for that the author's sorry for it. It's saying that he's explaining what he's doing, what the purpose of the story is. So let me begin with the author's apology, which is sort of a pseudo chapter 1. When at the first I took my pen in hand, thus for to write I did not understand, that I at all should make a little book, in such a mode, nay, I had undertook, to make another, which when almost done, before I was aware I this begun. And thus it was I, writing of the way and race of saints in this our gospel day, fell suddenly into an allegory about their journey and the way to glory. In more than 20 things which I set down, this done I 20 more had in my crown. And they again began to multiply, like sparks that from the coals of fire do fly. Nay, then, thought I, if that you breed so fast, I'll put you by yourselves, lest you at last should prove ad infinitum, and eat out the book that I already am about. Well, so did I, but yet I did not think to show to all the world my pen and ink. In such a mode I only thought to make, I knew not what, nor did I undertake. Thereby to please my neighbor, no, not I. I did it my own self to gratify. Neither did I but vacant seasons spend in this my scribble, nor did I intend, but to divert myself in doing this, from worser thoughts which make me do amiss. Thus I set pen to paper with delight, and quickly had my thoughts in black and white. For having now my method by the end, still as I pulled it came, and so I penned it down, until it came at last to be, for length and breadth, the bigness which you see. Well, when I had thus put mine ends together, I showed them others, that I might see whether they would condemn them or them justify. And some said, let them live, some let them die. Some said, John, print it, others said, not so. Some said, it might do good, others said, no. Now was I in a strait, and did not see which was the best thing to be done by me. At last I thought, since ye are thus divided, I print it will, and so the case decided. For thought I, some I see would have it done, though others in that channel do not run. To prove then who advised for the best, thus I thought fit to put it to the test. I further thought, if now I did deny those that would have it thus to gratify, I did not know but hinder them I might, of that which would to them be great delight. For those which were not for its coming forth, I said to them, offend you I am loath. Yet, since your brethren pleased with it be, forbear to judge till you do further see. If that thou wilt not read, let it alone. Some love the meat, some love to pick the bone. Yea, that I might them better palatate, I did it too with them thus expostulate. May I not write in such a style as this, in such a method too, and yet not amiss? My end, thy good, why may it not be done? Dark clouds bring waters, when the bright bring none. Yea, dark or bright, if they their silver drops cause to descend the earth by yielding crops, gives praise to both, and carpeth not at either, but treasures up the fruit they yield together. Yea, so commixes both, that in their fruit none can distinguish this from that they suit. Her well when hungry, but if she but full, she spews out both, and makes their blessings null. You see the ways the fisherman doth take, to catch the fish, what engines doth he make. Behold how he engageth all his wits, all his snares, lines, angles, hooks, and nets. Yet fish there be that neither hook nor line, nor snare, nor net, nor engine can make thine. They must be groped for, and be tickled too, or they will not be catched, whate'er you do. How does the fowler seek to catch his game? By divers means, all which one cannot name. His guns, his nets, his lime twigs, light and bell. He creeps, he goes, he stands, yea, who can tell? Of all his postures, yet there's none of these will make him master of what fowls he please. Yea, he must pipe and whistle to catch this, yet if he does so, that bird he will miss. If that a pearl may in toad's head dwell, and may be found too in an oyster shell. If things that promise nothing do contain, what better is than gold, who will disdain? That have an inkling of it there to look, that they may find it now my little book. Though void of all these paintings that they make, in with this or the other man to take, is not without those things that do excel, what do in brave but empty notions dwell. Yet I am not fully satisfied that this your book will stand when soundly tried. Why, what's the matter? It is dark, what though? But it is feigned, what of that, I trow? Some men by feigned words as dark as mine make truth to spangle and its rays to shine. But they want solidness, speak man thy mind. They drown the weak, metaphors make us blind. Solidity indeed becomes the pen of him that writeth things divine to men. But must I needs want solidness because by metaphors I speak? Were not God's laws, his gospel laws, in olden time held forth by types, shadows, and metaphors, yet loth will any sober man be to find fault with them, lest he be found for to assault. The highest wisdom, no, he rather stoops, and seeks to find out what, by pins and loops, by calves and sheep, by heifers and rams, by birds and herbs, and by the blood of lambs, God speaketh to him, and happy is he that finds the light and grace that in them be. Be not too forward, therefore, to conclude that I want solidness, that I am rude. All things solid in show, not solid be. All things in parable despise not we. Lest things most hurtful lightly we receive, and things that good are of our souls bereave. My dark and cloudy words they do but hold the truth as cabinets enclose the gold. The prophets used much by metaphors to set forth truth, yea, who so considers. Christ his apostles too shall plainly see that truths to this day in such mantles be. Am I afraid to say that holy writ, which for its style and phrase puts down all wit, is everywhere so full of all these things, dark figures, allegories, yet there springs from that same book that luster and those rays of light that turn our darkest nights to days. Come, let my carpet to his life now look, and find there darker lines than in my book. He findeth any, yea, and let him know that in his best things there are worse lines too. May we but stand before impartial men, to his poor one I durst adventure 10, that they will take my meaning in these lines far better than his lies in silver shrines. Come, truth, although in swaddling clothes, I find, informs the judgment, rectifies the mind. Please the understanding, makes the will, submit the memory too it doth fill. With what doth our imagination please, likewise it tends our troubles to appease. Sound words I know Timothy is to use, and old wives' fable he is to refuse. But yet grave Paul him nowhere doth forbid the use of parables, in which lay hid that gold, those pearls, and precious stones that were worth digging for, and that with greatest care. Let me add one word more, O man of God. Art thou offended? Dost thou wish I had put forth my matter in another dress, or that I had these things been more express? 3 things let me propound, then I submit to those that are my betters, as is fit. Number 1. I find not that I am denied the use of this my method, so I no abuse. Put on the words things, readers, or be rude, in handling figure or similitude, in application, but all that I may seek the advance of truth this or that way. Denied, did I say? Nay, I have leave. Example too, and that from them I have. God better pleased by their words or ways than any man that breatheth nowadays. Thus to express my mind, thus to declare things under thee that excellentest are. Number 2. I find that men as high as trees will write, dialogue-wise, yet no man doth them slight. For writing so, indeed, if they abuse, truth cursed be they, and the craft they use. To that intent, but yet let truth be free, to make her sallies upon thee and me. Which way it pleases God, for who knows how, better than he that taught us first to plough, to guide our minds and pens for his designs, and he makes base things usher in divine. Number 3. I find that Holy Writ in many places hath semblance with this method, where the cases do call for one thing to set forth another, use it I may then, and yet nothing smother. Truth's golden beams, nay, by this method may make it cast forth its rays as light as day. And now before I do put up my pen, I show the profit of my book, and then commit both thee and it unto that hand that pulls the strong dawn and makes weak ones stand. This book it chalketh out before thine eyes the man that seeks the everlasting prize. It shows you whence he comes, whither he goes, what he leaves undone, also what he does. It also shows you how he runs and runs till he unto the gate of glory comes. It shows too who set out for life amain, as if the lasting crown they would obtain. Here also you may see the reason why they lose their labor and like fools do die. This book will make a traveller of thee, if by its counsel thou wilt ruled be. It will direct thee to the Holy Land, if thou wilt its directions understand. Yea, it will make the slothful active be, the blind also delightful things to see. Art thou for something rare and profitable, or wouldst thou see a truth within a fable? Art thou forgetful, wouldst thou remember, from New Year's Day to the last of December? Then read my fancies, they will they will stick like burrs, and may be to the helpless and comforters. This book is writ in such a dialect as may the minds of listless men affect. It seems a novelty, and yet contains nothing but sound and honest gospel strains. Wouldst thou divert thyself from melancholy? Wouldst thou be pleasant, yet be far from folly? Wouldst thou read riddles and their explanation, or else be drowned in thy contemplation? Dost thou love picking meat, or wouldst thou see a man in the clouds and hear him speak to thee? Wouldst thou be in a dream and yet not sleep? Or wouldst thou in a moment laugh and weep? Wouldst thou lose thyself and catch no harm, and find thyself again without a charm? Wouldst thou read thyself, and read thou know'st not what, and yet know whether thou art blessed or not? By reading the same lines, O then come hither, and lay my book, thy head and heart together. And that is the end of the author's apology. I know that's a lot to get through. The rest of the book is not poetic like this one is. And I know that some of the lines didn't rhyme. My thought is that this short prelude to the book is probably not as edited, and a lot of these rhymes probably rhymed 400 years ago when the book was written, but they don't anymore. Another thing that I would like to say about John Bunyan, he wrote this in prison. This is an allegory, if you didn't catch it from the apology that we just read. It is an allegory that is designed to teach us how to live a successful life in Christ. So I hope that you enjoy the story. We're going to start next time with the first chapter, which is chapter 2 in this book, which is called Christian and Evangelist. So I hope that you join us for this journey, and it's going to be a great ride. And God bless you, and have a great night. God bless. Thank you.